Anoka Meals on Wheels, a nonprofit organization that I proudly support, delivers more than just nutritious meals to seniors in our community. They deliver connection, care, and peace of mind. Their volunteers don't just drop off food, they check in, share a smile, and ensure our neighbors know they're not forgotten. I know because I am one of those volunteer drivers. Help us keep serving those who need it most. Visit mowanoka.org to volunteer, donate, or learn more about Anoka Meals on Wheels, nourishing bodies and spirits one meal at a time.
From working in his family's Chinese restaurant, to bartending, to becoming present-day owner of Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric, my father's true superpower is human connection. Now, he's on a mission to capture the most fascinating stories that make up the Minnesota community. You're listening to the Twin City Tales podcast.
From her early days as a new local WCCO news reporter, building bridges in community, to her role as a special education teacher and currently instructional coach in the Osseo School District. Fostering connections with students and educators, Maya's journey is a testament to the importance of relationships. And let's not forget her passion for cat rescue, connecting animals with loving homes. Maya has woven these connections into a life of purpose and impact. Welcome to the show, Maya.
Hi. Glad to be here, Wymond.
I remember seeing you in the early to mid 2000s on TV, and it was fantastic. I felt like I connected with you, how you did your news program, and that's the key, right? How you out in the field. What brought you to Minnesota, and what do you love about Minnesota the most?
Yeah, well, I came here in 2002, and it was really my husband that brought me here because he grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. For TV, I had jumped around to a lot of different markets. As you do, you start small. So I grew up in Southern California and went to school in Northern California. And then my very first job was in Florence, Alabama, Northwest Alabama, in a little tiny station. WOWL, the owl. And that was a lot of culture shock for me to be in that part of the country and to be out there by myself. Was there for about a year and a half. And then I went to Bakersfield, California. And that's where I met my husband, who came out there to be a teacher. He was lured away with, dreams of California, beaches and all of that. But we were in the middle of the desert of Central California. And we met there, and then I kind of dragged him along to my next move, which was in Springfield, Missouri. And then after that, we moved to San Diego, California, where he went to law school for 3 years, and I worked at the ABC station. And he just really missed home and his family. He's a twin. He really wanted to be with his twin brother, so we gave it a try. He moved back first, and then I moved there. It was kind of scary to come in 2002 without a job, and I'd never lived in that part of the country, but I was excited. I had only known of Minneapolis through, growing up and watching Mary Tyler Moore do her thing, and which is funny because it was a newsroom and based on WCCO-TV. But when I came out here in 2002 without a job for about a month, I was actually first going to go to Care 11. I was offered a job there that actually didn't come through in the end, and then got hired at WCCO-TV right there on Nicollet Mall, downtown Minneapolis. And I was the morning reporter for a number of years and stayed on and worked more part-time as a field reporter. And it was great time.
Wow, it just makes me think of that show WKRP, right? You go up and down the dial all over the town.
Yeah, and it really teaches you a lot about yourself, and going to a new place and kind of remaking yourself, or, learning about your environment and what you need to do. TV is very competitive, and so I was very focused on my career for a while, and then things shifted, to be more family focused.
Oh, man, that would be such a cool job. I grew up right next to Care 11. My dad bought his house in 1969, 8, right next to Care 11 was like dirt mounds there, and I'd ride my bike back there, and they built that place, and then we'd go watch All-Star Wrestling there because they tape it there.
Funny.
So it is kind of funny, a little local flavor for the audience out there.
Well, this Twin Cities market has been very well known for quality television, television news, and journalism for many, many years. So I knew that there a huge reputation for great photography at Care 11, huge reputation at WCCO-TV for investigative journalism, the big news, and Dave Moore and all of that legacy, Don Shelby. So it was really cool coming into all of that.
Oh, yeah. And PBS, I think, Twin City PBS did a big documentary on the news stations in Minnesota because of the great journalism that we have here. No, that's fantastic. And then, you know, kind of funny, you ended up like going to like from major Twin City news station journalists to early childhood special education. How did that come about?
Well, you know, you have a family and things, your priorities change a little. I had a daughter in 2004 who had a severe disability, and she was very much a medical needs child. And so I cut back on my work hours. I still worked, which was, you know, kind of kept me in the mix of the things, but I worked to more of a weekend schedule. And then during the week, I was home with her and took her to all those medical appointments and therapies and things like that. So I came to early intervention as a parent, because if you have a child with a disability or in at least one area or more, or some kind of condition or medical condition, you qualify for these home visits, early intervention services. So we were living in St. Paul at the time. So those people became a real lifeline for me, the teachers, especially the physical therapists who came weekly. And I just really got into what they did, and I really believed in it. And of course, that became my main focus was helping her. So, and then when she passed in 2008, which was sad, of course, but she had trisomy 18, which is a very severe disability. Only 10%, and I don't know if that percentage has changed, live past the age of 1. So she lived a little over 4, and did a lot in her 4 years. So she taught me so much, and I just felt like I really couldn't do the same thing anymore. I saw a different focus of life. And even though I had a great time in television, I met a lot of wonderful people. I'm still in community with them. I still see a lot of people, and they were like family to me. I just felt like I needed to do something different. You just come back and it's like your life can't be quite the same. So I continued to work at CCO. This was around 2008. And then again, I had another daughter. And so I continued part-time. And then I went to night school for education for my early childhood special education master's at St. Thomas, which was right down the street from WCCO. So took me about 2 years to do that. And my husband, in the meantime, had been working with the Osseo School District. He's been an English teacher at Osseo Senior High for more than 20 years. So I knew I wanted to be in that school district so we could be, you know, on sort of the same schedule, just be in the same area. And we still lived in St. Paul. So I was lucky enough to get a long-term sub position in Osseo, and then ended up getting hired in 2011. And I've been there full-time ever since. I left CCO in 2010.
Okay, so officially 2010. And then amazingly enough, you know, I kind of knew you through my wife a little bit.
Yes. I've known Julie for a long time.
Yeah, and it's neat because, you know, you don't think of these things. I think about 10 years ago. Dan, when were you playing basketball at Blaine High School? 2015. So we remember your husband is a great teacher, because when we went out there Dan had a game
against Osseo,
against Osseo, or was it Maple Grove?
No, he works for Osseo.
Okay, so it was at Osseo. And that right after his game, they were dedicating in Osseo an award for your husband as one of the favorite teachers voted.
Yeah, I think what happens is the seniors get to pick a favorite teacher to honor. Yeah, so he gets that a lot. He's very popular.
So that was so awesome, because I was just like, Julie's like, I know we'll have to stay right after Dan's game to watch the ceremony, and that's what we did. It was it was the connections that we have, right? That you don't know about.
Going into teaching was not an accident because I really had seen the impact that he had had on thousands of kids in his, in his lifetime as a teacher. And he really encouraged me to give it a try.
Wow.
And special ed for me is much more meaningful. I feel like that was my thing.
So when we got back into that, you said early intervention is the part. So what exactly is early intervention in that field of special education?
So it is a program we have in Minnesota. It's not in every state, but many, where special ed goes all the way down to birth. So from birth to the age 3, we do home visits for kids who qualify. And it might be a medical condition like my daughter had, like a trisomy 18 or Down syndrome, or it might be that there's a mild speech delay. And so you've probably seen those billboards or the advertisements for Help Me Grow Minnesota. So if you have a concern about a child, you call or you go online and you make a referral. So those go to your school district, wherever you may live in the state. And then someone will call you, and if you're interested, they'll interview, and then someone will come out, a team will come out to your home and test your child or otherwise qualify them, take that information. And then we are a family parent centered program, our caregiver centered program. So we figure out how often you'd like us to come, and then we come and support you in your daily routines. In that natural environment. We don't try to sit a child down and say, here's your speech therapy. At that age, we're working with the parent to help, or the caregiver, because we have lots of grandparents and other caregivers, foster parents, who, about how they can best support their child in those daily routines that are most meaningful to those babies and toddlers. So it's a lot of fun. I've met great people, and it's very rewarding to be able to help a caregiver do their best for their child and see their child progress and thrive. So it's very rewarding.
Wow, that's really good stuff that you do for the community.
Yeah, and I get to know all kinds of people and go into all kinds of homes. Osseo School District is, I believe, still the 5th largest school district in the state. So we have a very large geographic area we cover, and just all kinds of people, many languages spoken, as your wife knows too.
Yeah, it's very diverse. And
yes.
And I think there's certain challenges in what you do, right? Because there's parents that are like, my kid doesn't need special education, or my kid isn't, there's nothing wrong with my kid.
Well,
so
our program is voluntary. So anybody that signs up with us is, they're on board. But where there's a discrepancy sometimes is there might be a parent or a caregiver who's like, I just want you to do something to fix this situation. Well, that's not what we're doing. We're here to support you because you're your child's best teacher and best means of support, and how we can help you and your family thrive and do their best is what we're about.
Yeah. And part of that breakthrough connection with the people like I'm talking about, like, yes, it's voluntary, but with your passion of wanting to help those people and understanding where their needs are, they don't always agree with that's what their needs are.
Right. I think we all have a little bit of a different lens when it's our own child versus somebody else's child, right?
Exactly.
Like we all have our lenses. And one of my specialties is also autism in this toddler population. And so that's a really heavy thing for a lot of people. I'm hoping, that it becomes more normalized, because really it is so common. Right? We're talking 1 in 30 some, 35 or 34 children in Minnesota. So it's really something that we can support, that's a part of life, and there are strengths and there are needs, but we're really there to help people be their best. And sometimes, when you're a parent and you're especially a first-time parent, you might be like, oh, I can't deal with anything wrong with my child. I can't deal with that yet. So there's a lot of grieving that is going on, especially with that young population. We're often the very first people, in addition to their doctor, or other health provider, saying like, this is something that maybe should be addressed if this is what you want.
Yeah.
So that is a hard thing that we deal with all the time. And we try to be as compassionate as possible and meet everyone where they are as far as like what their needs are and what they want from us. And sometimes it's a very long journey, and we just do our best to meet everybody where they are.
That's interesting you say that, because I keep going back to like part of that, like compassion is figuring out how to connect with these parents to help
build relationship.
Yes, yeah. And if you don't connect with them, they don't understand you and you don't understand them. And a lot of times they're not the first one to reach out to try and make those connections. It's, I guess they reach out, but they're looking for connection to be able to.
Mm-hmm. And it's very isolating having a child with a disability. I think it can be very isolating.
Well,
and
you've experienced it.
Yes. You're not quite in the club with the other parents, right? You have your own needs. And then I think for a lot of our immigrant families, that's another thing on top of everything else, where they're dealing with a new community. They may feel isolated. They may not be used to the weather in Minnesota, and that kind of isolates them even further. We often go, to homes in, small apartments with families that, don't go outside very much. And so we are a connection for them. And we try to, the way early intervention works when that under 3 years old, we also are required to connect them to as many community resources as possible. So that's also part of what we do.
Wow. That's you're doing really good things for the community. And, one of the things is, connecting, like you just said, with both parent and child is really essential to being good at what you do in that field, right? Did news reporting play a big part of that? Because you have to, in a way, connect with people involved of those news stories, whether it was good or bad, right? Like they're going through some stress or we're happy, Yeah.
It's all about, I think, a level of trust. And I think what's helped me is I've had to build trust in a very short amount of time as a news reporter to get somebody to talk to me and to have that relationship and to ask questions and to be open-ended with those questions so that you can get a lot of information. And that's not very different than talking to a parent about their child and getting to know them and their origin story and what their needs are and their priorities. And we do have a limited amount of time to be able to do that. When we go in and we do some testing or evaluation, we have a limited amount of time to figure out what's going on and how best meet those needs. But then we have that luxury of going back and being invited to their homes and their lives for, again and again. And it is really a privilege, I think. But being able to be curious about another person's story and to get them to open up and ask some questions that will, facilitate that. I think that's where the overlap is. And now as an instructional coach, I do the same thing with staff members. So I'm helping them meet their goals, whether it's with a child in the classroom or a family in the home. And so I also use those same, I've been trained in what's called cognitive coaching. And I use those skills to get people to share.
Yeah. Well, again, it all falls back to making sure you connect with being an instructional coach, right? You have to connect with that person, not telling them what to do, but
right, exactly.
Going, where's the connection? Right. And here's how I can help you.
Mm-hmm. And with the caregivers, it's the same, and it's evidence-based, right? That, nobody takes advice that they're just told, right? From some random person. They have to come to that realization on their own, and that cognitive coaching or that helping them draw out and reflect upon their own thoughts, that's where the magic comes, that we all meet our goals and progress if we can reflect a little. And sometimes it takes that other person to help you see that.
Wow. Yeah, that what you're doing for the community and helping people with needs.
Well, Julie as well. She's right there with us.
Yeah, my wife does a lot of that stuff. She comes home with quite a few stories, and they're heartbreaking, some of them. But then on the other side, they've really done some breakthroughs because of early intervention on how you guys handle that. I don't think back in the 70s they never thought of that. It was just like, first I think some of the medication was just, here's some Adderall, or here's some,
Things were much different then, and
Yes.
really special education law came into being in the 70s because of parents advocating for their kids. So then it went down to birth to 3 after the initial legal battle. So it's broadened, and I think it's changed, and we're seeing now that disability is not a negative thing, that there are strengths everywhere, and neurodiversity is something that our department is trying to promote a lot, because autism, ADHD, all of those different ways of being are really just that, and that everybody has a strength and a way that we can support them to be their best and to be their happiest and to contribute.
Right. Yeah. And, I know a lot of our listeners are, some are business people, a lot of them are parents. It's a matter of figuring that, I think, communication out, what you really need, and you don't always recognize it, but talking to people about that, I think that always helps. And
yeah, I think, for a long time, going back to way back before in the 70s, and people, and in other cultures too now, in other countries, it's like, okay, this is something we don't want to see. We don't want to admit, or we don't want to bring light to. But I think that a lot of things have changed, and for the better.
yeah.
Yeah, talking, like you said, talking about things.
Yeah.
Bringing things to light.
And that's the reason why we have this podcast. Sometimes bringing things to light really helps. And I know there's going to be a little bit of change, but you are a busy person. And I know the other passion that you have that we've talked about is cat rescue. You love cat rescue.
Yeah, and that's kind of a funny thing how that came about. Of course, I've always been an animal lover. I've always had both cats and dogs, grew up with both. But one of my very best friends who I met at CCO-TV is Mary Tan. And that's kind of what bonded us at first, is that we both had this passion for animals and had a lot of animals at the time. When we met, we both had 3 cats. But anyway, she also has since left the station. And her passion for animals has kind of rubbed off on me. And she has her own PR company called Whisker Media. And she does public relations for pet products and pet organizations. And she's very involved with animal welfare. So she really pushed me to hey, why don't you start fostering kittens? Because you love cats and you love kittens. And so I started doing that about 7 years ago, and just love that. And I've also gotten involved with some other rescues, and more recently, and this actually goes back to Willow Lane Early Childhood Center, I've gotten involved with Trap, Neuter, Return with those outdoor cats and feral cats. So right next to our Early Childhood Center is a park, and some of our friends were noticing some cats in the park, and then started feeding them. I said, well, you can't just feed them. We have to get them spayed and neutered. And so we ended up trapping 2 cats, and it turned out that they were not completely feral, and we managed to get them adopted. So that was really cool.
Right.
So I feel like things just kind of came to me in a way, and then when there's need out there, people find a kitten, or they don't know what to do, and they'll reach out to me, and so it all finds you in a way.
But I feel like that's the amazing thing about who you are, Maya. You're that person that gets and I think you put that out there, the whole thing about helping. I mean, helping these children that have special needs, helping cats that, it might sound funny, but they don't advocate for themselves, right? And some have great homes, but they're in a situation where they need
I think,
care.
what people don't realize, even in Minnesota, most cats are born outside, which seems crazy with the weather we have. But that is a problem, because we've had in many communities these colonies, people have big hearts and they want to feed, the outdoor cats. But it turns out that, then they overpopulate, and then it becomes a huge problem. And people don't really like the idea of trapping the animals, fixing them and then returning them. But some cats cats who are born and raised outside are not socialized to people, so they can't be your pet. But we've also seen a lot of friendly cats that are outdoors right now. So whether it's cats that got lost, but more than likely it's a cat that got dumped, was a pet sometime, or left behind in some way, and or that might have been socialized outside to some extent. But like both of these cats we found, they weren't fixed. They probably would have, contributed to an overpopulation problem in that park. And it turned out that they were friendly, so they might have been pets at one time, but something happened. So I've gotten to know through rescues like Bitty Kitty Brigade. They have a group of people in that organization that they call them the Birth Control Brigade, and they go out and they trap. And then a lot of times there'll be kittens, and then those kittens will go to Bitty Kitty Brigade and get fostered and adopted out. So that's one of the organizations I foster for. I've also fostered for Animal Humane Society. Kitty Revolution is another one. And I've also gotten involved with Pet Project Rescue, which is not a shelter, and they don't place animals, but they help get them spayed and neutered, which is a big need.
Yeah, for those of us who've traveled to different areas of the country, if with your passion here, it does control a lot of that. I've been to cities where I'm just trying to think, like actually in Hawaii,
Hawaii is a huge problem.
Yeah,
yes. Because there's not a lot of predators, and the weather is so good they can reproduce all year long. And it's a transient community, so sometimes people leave animals behind. But there are groups there that you'll see signs where there's a colony that is being cared for, and the animals are fixed. Because not every cat can live inside. And then, of course, the other issue here in Minnesota, there are a lot of barn cats and barn kittens, right? And people think that's okay, but then it gets out of hand.
Interesting. Yeah, and we'd have if we didn't have groups like yours doing what they do, we would have the feral cats running all over the place. So
they reproduce at a very fast rate. So yes,
not quite like rabbits, but could be close.
Could be close. Yeah.
Well, man, I'm learning a lot more about cats than I ever thought I knew, and I'm allergic to cats. So with that, let's take a break from here, and we'll be back. Is your home's electrical panel stuck in the past? Flickering lights, trip breakers, and burning smells are warning signs you can't ignore. Outdated panels can't handle today's power demands and pose serious safety risks to your family. From smart homes to electric vehicles, your family deserves reliable, safe power. Our licensed electricians upgrade your panel to modern code standards, preventing dangerous outages, electrical fires, and costly emergency repairs. Don't gamble with your family's safety. Trust the experts who've been serving homeowners for years. Upgrade your electrical panel today and invest in your family's future. And we are back with Maya Nishikawa. And, as we were leaving from from before break, we started talking about cat rescue. And you have your own cats and pets.
I've accumulated some cats, right? So I have 5 now. I had 3 before I started fostering, and then ended up with a couple more. And then we also have 2 big dogs, and we take the dogs everywhere. And my next evolution of crazy cat person is I started putting one of my cats in cat shows in the household pet category.
Okay.
So those pedigree cats are there too. And then so my friend Mary that I told you about, we are taking our rescue cats and put them in the household pet categories. And we've been having a lot of fun doing that.
Wow. It's like, I was just thinking, it was like, brings me back to the old days where Mutual of Omaha, Animal Kingdom. That could be at your house.
Yes.
All of a sudden, Jim comes out of nowhere. It says, and Marlon Perkins says, "Hey, we're going to have Jim go tame that cat out there."
Yeah. I have tried to socialize some cats sometimes, but with fosters, like sometimes I have 13 animals in the house.
Wow.
Who knows? But but it's just a temporary thing.
That's so awesome. You have a big heart for them and your passion, because if I remember right, yesterday you were at the cat festival in
Oh, yeah. I went to the Cat Video Festival with a lot of my friends from Willow Lane who we've kind of bonded over trapping and saving the cats in the park. And we're all just cat lovers. And so that was a lot of fun. And I was there helping out a friend who owns Furniture, which is a cat furniture store in St. Paul. So this journey has kind of led me to a lot of cat people.
Nice. Tell us a little more about what that cat festival is about. I've seen.
I think it started more than 10 years ago at the Walker Art Center, where they just, cat videos are all over the internet and they still are so popular. And they just got together and showed some cat videos. And now it's become a huge annual event, and it's at CHS Field now. And it was just really fun. It was a chance for people to just kind of relax and enjoy, cat related things and then watch a whole bunch of videos. And we all kind of understood each other, right?
It's a common bond, right? It's a connection. Again, it's all about connecting.
Right,
you have something to connect with. But so I also have our part of the surprise of the pictures.
Oh my!
And your husband Sean sent some really fun pictures, and this was one of them. We'll show you on the iPad.
Oh yeah!
It's a black and white photo with it looks like your dad from 1960s, maybe, or.
Well, he came to the United States in 1961, so this was much earlier than that. Okay. But those are my grandparents.
Oh, okay.
And my aunt, Fusaya, who was my dad's older sister, and that's my dad. And I believe that's Mount Fuji behind them.
Oh, that's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this must have been in the 30s, maybe? Mm-hmm. Before the war really hit?
Yes, for sure. Wow. And my grandpa, who did live with us for a while when I was in high school, when in Japan, he worked for the government in promoting agriculture and promoting animals. Here we go again with the animals. So my dad tells me stories. They always had a lot of rabbits, sometimes cows, goats, different animals.
There's a common
they were
theme
living with
your family.
He wasn't a veterinarian, but he was like somebody he took care of. And my dad also and his sisters and brother had to help take care of all the animals. So he has a lot of memories of that. And during the war, it was kind of tough.
Yeah. A little fun fact about the war in Minnesota and Japan. We didn't have internment camps here in Minnesota, but I went to see a play at the History Theater in Minnesota, Minnesota History Theater, downtown in St. Paul. Can't remember the name of it, but I remember the whole theme of it. And they did send a bunch of Japanese men into a city in Minnesota.
Well, it was at Fort Snelling. So I did a little presentation on this. So I did some research. It was the Military Intelligence Service. And what they did, it was a secret group here. And it wasn't revealed till the 1970s what they were doing. So they recruited Japanese Americans who could speak Japanese and English to this school where they did intensive language teaching. And then they were basically they went to the front lines and they worked as interpreters, and sometimes, they got shot at by both sides. It was a very dangerous job.
Oh, for sure.
And that was a secret thing that happened here. And it was originally at Fort Snelling, and then I think the school moved.
Yeah, they moved it to some small town. I should have done my research before we talked about this.
But
it just made me
so
think
interesting.
Of it.
I think it's a very little known piece of history in the Twin Cities.
And how local, or not local, but the Japanese contributed to the war.
Right. You think about they came
side.
here to serve their country while their relatives were in internment camp in prison.
Yeah.
Basically, which was where my mom's family was in Tule Lake in Northern California. So that took a lot of loyalty to be able to do that while your family is being treated in such a way. And then when they would walk around in the Twin Cities, people would be very suspect. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
And it seems like things are the same. Like, we don't learn from our past because I know, like, when that pandemic hit, people, it did come from Asia. but they were calling it the Chinese flu. But unfortunately, I think most people, even me at times, I can't tell the difference between Chinese and Japanese, what they look like. I can kind of somewhat assume certain things or features, but it's that, so when they're walking around and they're Chinese or they have nothing to do with Japanese, they still get lumped in that same category just because of what they look like. So, but no, sorry, didn't mean to take it down to a different road. I just thought that was a great picture right before the war and just things that happened.
And my auntie is still here with us. My grandparents have gone, but like my dad is 86 and I think she's 88.
Wow. And what a great black and white photo to have preserved. Our next photo is, oh my goodness.
Oh my, and I'm trying to think of where that's my mom. That might have been on a trip to Hawaii.
I was thinking it looked like a Hawaiian
because
background.
that looks like from an old photo album we had from that trip. I think I was about 11.
11? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots changing
with
Hawaii
that nice
since
bowl
then.
haircut.
That bowl haircut, exactly. Just get the right size bowl fitted on and trim.
Yeah. And at that time, I remember way back when we did still have some relatives in Hawaii.
Okay.
So my mom had an auntie, I think, in Maui that we went to go visit. And my grandmother, the one that was in that black and white photo, she was actually born in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I thought that was a really fun
That's
picture.
a funny one. I haven't seen that one. Oh, wedding picture. So this is, gosh, my dad looks so young. He's on the very far left.
Oh, that's your dad on the far
all
left.
the other relatives except for my nephews, the little boys, have passed away. But those are relatives on my mom's side. So my two aunties, my Uncle Frank, who everybody thought he looked like Mr. Miyagi, and he did for a long time. My Uncle George, who his story is very interesting. The Tanimoto family. He's my uncle through marriage, and he his family went to internment, but they were interned, and they lived in Northern California in a town called Gridley. And some Caucasian neighbors kept their farm while they were gone. So when they came back, they actually had something to go back to.
They did.
Yes. Whereas my mom's family, they were like tenant farmers, so they had no land. They had nothing to come back to after the war. So they moved to Los Angeles. So that's why the Tanimoto brothers, they actually started the kiwi industry and growing kiwis in California. So that's my
because that
Uncle
was an
George.
exotic fruit not typical of California.
Right.
Yeah.
He and his brothers started the industry.
Wow.
And then my Uncle Marcus is another relative on my mom's side, and his wife. So
Wow. And another basic story of that, like your family was pretty lucky to be able to keep the farm. A lot of times they did have other people watch it.
Now they say, I heard the stories, there was still a lot of prejudice. Like when they came back from the war, they couldn't like get a haircut in town. Like people really shunned them, even though they did nothing wrong.
No.
But they were lucky they still had their farm, and that contributed to their future success.
Yeah. And they were like, back then a lot of people said that they would take care of their farm, but like fleece them with
that. I'm sure
paperwork.
that happened too.
Happened a lot, I guess,
I'm sure.
But, then we got that one.
Oh, yeah. So these are some of my friends from WCCO-TV who came to my house in Maple Grove. And that's on the right, my friend Mary Tan, Jason DeRusha, who is now with WCCO Radio. He was at TV for a long time. Next to me is Lisa Kiava, who now lives in California, and Sonia Goins, who was a producer with us. And then she was on air later at CCX TV here in the Northwest Metro. And she has... we're all, still close, especially the ladies in the picture. We're still good friends.
For the people listening, this probably was kind of a picture in a pretty nice background in a house with probably, I would say, taken in the 90s.
Oh, no. This was... because I moved to Maple Grove in 2012.
Or not 90s, 2000.
Yeah,
sorry.
2012. So I don't know, shortly after I moved there.
Yeah.
So, we all look a little younger and skinnier.
No. And then this for you listeners out there, this is a picture of Maya's daughter, who I feel like drove a lot of who she is and doing what you're
That's
doing today.
Miyako, and she was on oxygen at the time. So you see her, going on little outings was really fun with her because we didn't expect her to, be able to do a lot of things. She never walked independently, but here she is like pushing a little shopping cart. This was, I think, Mississippi Market, which was right near her house. She has her little headgear on because she was like, not very stable, so we always had something, on her head in case she fell. But and she's got her little oxygen tank in the little shopping cart. But that's a good memory from when we used to do things with her, and even those small things like going to the store were really big to us.
She was adorable, yeah, and her spirit just keeps going through you, which is so awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing that photo. And this one...
Oh, gosh, this is a very old picture. This one probably is from... Oh, no, this was actually probably before my wedding.
Okay.
So that was 98. So these are some of my bridesmaids. So I'm like, yeah, when was this? So this must have been like when we're getting our hair done or getting ready for the wedding. So the two Asian American ladies in the picture were sorority sisters of mine at Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah, we were all in Gamma Phi Beta together, and they were both my little sisters. One became a lawyer, and the other is a healthcare professional, and she was at the CDC for a long time, and now she's working elsewhere. And then right next to me is my best friend, Jessica, who I grew up with in South Pasadena, and she actually has lived in Australia for a very long time. We still keep in touch, but I only get to see her once every couple of years or so. Yeah, and she has been a professor, and now she works in a girls' school and counsels high schoolers about college.
Wow. Yeah. And those are such young times that you kind of remember, like...
Yeah.
Little different
and bigger
things
hair. A lot bigger hair back then.
Yeah, a lot more puffier. Funny, when did you go to Berkeley?
86 to 90.
You would have been on campus with my sister.
I didn't realize
that.
Bonnie, funny. With the other 30,000 people.
Yes. And her husband, she met her husband at Berkeley.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to
like
find out more about them.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. What did she study there? Do you know?
I probably do, but okay. I'm older now. I have a good memory. It's really short.
Yeah, and there are so many Asian Americans still at, even back then.
Well, they talk about discriminatory. They don't accept as many Asians there because they got to balance out the quota.
Well, it's always kind of been an issue.
Yeah.
There have been many different legal battles, but people would come up to me all the time and think I was somebody else,
Yeah. Yes.
I bet that happened to your sister too.
Yes, because I hate to say it, all Asians look alike a lot of times, as they say.
So they say.
Anyways, though, so going back to like those days, right? You never thought you'd be like a special education provider or teacher. And, going back to then, what advice would you have for that young Maya?
I don't know, except for... Because I feel like my journey, I had to do the things I did to gain the wisdom that I eventually did. But at that point, when I was trying to move up the ladder in TV and go to different markets, I was very focused on myself and my own journey and that kind of that cutthroat world of television and, trying to improve and trying to make connections, kind of work the system or, work my way up. But really, I think becoming a teacher is much more meaningful. And the lives that I touch. Obviously, there are people in journalism who touch a lot of lives too. Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for my friends who are still out there doing it and telling people stories. It's not always what you want to do and the stories you want to tell. So there's still a lot of great work that's being done out there. But I feel like on a personal level, everything came around to this point and what I am doing, what I should be doing.
We are where we're always supposed to be, I think.
So maybe back then, try to believe in yourself a little more. I felt like that insecurity of always there's always somebody better and prettier and better at what they do and has better connect, like all that kind of stuff. It's like really in the end, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? Exactly. I mean, it's what you believe in, right? But at that age, I remember being that age, like it's all about appearance. It's all about what you look like, and
Oh yeah. Television, it's look and sound and how you come off and all that good stuff.
So with that, one of the questions I like to ask my guests, and it's kind of more newer, is, we really like to talk about connections here and what it takes to connect with people and what challenges there are in connection. So, in your life through news reporting and now teaching, there is a lot of diversity. So there's a lot that we don't always are the same with other people. But in what ways do you find common grounds with people from different backgrounds?
Well, I think that being in news helps too, and that everybody does have a story. I know that's a Steve Hartman line, but trying to keep an open mind and just like not prejudging people, like going out there and just talking to people and finding what they're about. And it's the same with families. When I come into their home and I'm meeting them for the first time, like just finding out and being open and not having too many, preconceived ideas of what this person is about and what we think they are. And that's how you really make that connection.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do because we're so bombarded with social media and the prejudging once you see something or something that keeps, one thing that in politics, you keep saying it, even though it's not true, starts becoming true, right?
Right.
How do you weed out that noise? And exactly.
It is hard. I mean, our brains want to put things into categories, but we just try to, when you are in a new situation, try to hold back on that and try to be just open and see what you can learn. Everybody has something to teach you, whether it's a child, whether it's adult,
Agreed 100%.
Yeah.
And my closing question is usually, who is someone you'd love to see or hear on this podcast, and why?
In the Twin Cities, there's a couple of people I've been thinking about. And, I've talked about my friend Mary Tan, and she has a very interesting background as far as her animal advocacy. And now she's a business person, and she's in this niche area, which is pets. But it's really a huge, huge business. And I think it'd be interesting to hear more about, because she talks to everybody in the industry. She just came back from a trade show called Super Zoo, where she brought her cat Frankie, who is like a spokes cat, and helps out with these trade shows and promoting different products. But it is a huge thing, and there's always something that she's teaching me about the pet industry or about pets. And whether it's, we can talk forever about what you feed your pet or what you do with your pet or the health issues, all kinds of stuff. So I think people would be interested. And also her journey and her background is very interesting as well. Growing up in Ashland, Wisconsin, as like the only Asian American family in the town. Her dad was a professor at Northland College, which just closed. So very interesting story there. He originally came from Indonesia many decades ago. He's now 95. So I think their family has a very interesting story. And then one other friend of mine from the Asian American Journalists Association is moving back to the Twin Cities, Tom Lee. And he was at the Star Tribune for quite a while. And he's a business reporter, but he has a very interesting perspective in that he's written books and he's been very successful as a writer, but he's also been on his own journey of mental health. He had a lot of trauma as a child and growing up and in his family. And he's been very open about his struggles on social media, and he's written articles about it. And I learned so much from his openness to talk about what has happened. And he wrote an article about the effect of steroids on certain medications that people who have mental health issues are on. And he nearly died when he went to an urgent care and someone prescribed steroids to him, not understanding what other medications he's on. And he wrote an article that saved many lives, likely. because he was so open about his struggles. So, and he continues to do that and to advocate. So he would be a great person to talk to on your podcast, because that's not something that Asian Americans talk about a lot, is mental health.
No, mental health is really.
I think he's a great advocate, and he's a really fun person. And he's moving back here in the next couple months, I think.
I would love to connect with him.
He's living in Boston right now, so.
Yeah, mental health is something in our Asian community they kind of like tamp down, and like we don't talk about that. And suicide is one of those things that the Asians never like talking about, like, and or addressing those issues, right? You know,
so many, there's such stigma in many. Same with disability. Many communities, there's stigma.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. No, those two awesome people that I feel like that I connect with now. Man, I have this whole. Instead of a bucket list of like things to do, I have a bucket list of people I want to talk to. So that's awesome.
That's great that you have this opportunity to share everybody's story.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to be able to find a platform to be able to do this with, and including my business, right? Like I meet a lot of people through my business, and it's just so important to me.
And I've been a customer of your business as well.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I was lucky enough, because I know Julie, to get some special, maybe not so special treatment. I think you probably treat everybody that way, that all your customers, making sure they're taken care of.
But you had me on the weekend to come out.
Yes, it was a horrible heat wave, and our air conditioner died, and you made sure I was taken care of on the weekend, and you came out yourself and brought the portables so we could be comfortable and help me get my new unit. And so I felt privileged that I had a connection there.
I appreciate the plug, but yes, you are special, and I would do that with anybody that I know at a high level. So, and this is the time where we start wrapping it up, and I do have a couple things for you.
Oh, goodness.
I have some gifts for you. So I'm going to take it out. And
many surprises.
A little bit. We love doing surprises here. And the first one is just a little thank you for being on our show.
So cute. It's a little thumbs up trophy.
That's right. And with the backside, I had your name and
awesome.
And the
Twin
podcast
City
was put on.
Tales.
Exactly.
Oh.
And I know how much you love cats. And that's like your passion. So, and I always could use a kitty cat.
This is very cute and useful. This will go on my desk. It's a little kitty Post-it holder. I love it.
Yes.
I do have a lot of cat things in my office. So.
And I know how much your daughter is into hockey. She was in lacrosse now, but or you can take your husband. I'm sure your husband would love it. But it's tickets for the club level seating.
This is amazing.
Of the Wild.
It's very generous, Wymond. Thank you.
We appreciate everything you do for the community.
They will love it too.
Yes. So thank you for being on the show.
Oh my gosh, that's so generous. Thank you.
And with that, I really can't thank you enough, Maya, for coming on the show and taking your time here on being on Twin City Tales. If you want to learn more about cat rescue, Maya's passion, you can go to the show notes or visit us at Twin City Tales on our Facebook page, and we will post some of them there. And as we roll out of here, I want to thank Chris Hockey for the use of his song Thanks, with no pun intended. This podcast is powered by Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric. Until the next show, you can't go wrong with Wymond Wong on Twin City Tales Podcast.
This song goes out to my family, to all the ones who died before me. I'm sure the family life made you do things you never wanted to, so I wrote this song to say thank you for the breath that I just took, for the life my son